Yeah, boy.
In a recent video, I introduced several really powerful Pokemon from Generation 9. And, of course, there are plenty of new faces to mention in part 2 of my list of the most powerful Pokemon in the region, Paldea. Let's get it started. The 7-Up mascot was created of solid gold before being possessed by a ghost and transformed into this Pokemon. Gholdengo has dual steel, ghost types, which are exceptionally strong and resistant to up to 9 types while being immune to 3 others. Those factors alone make it a truly outstanding Pokemon. Although this Pokemon's stat is not exceptional, it is not mediocre at all, with 133 basic special attack stats, making its already terrifying exclusive move, Make It Rain, even more terrifying. With 120 power and 100% accuracy, this is a tremendously unbalanced move. Furthermore, in a double battle, it will hit both opponents. All of this is in exchange for a 1-stage reduction in special attack after use. This move is comparable to moves like Overheat or Leaf Storm, which are only 10 points stronger while only hitting one target and having their attack reduced by 2 stages, describing just how terrifying this move is. And moreover, this move should have an additional name, called Make You Rich. Meowth must be very jealous when his appeared in the first generation and just have payday. Gholdengo also has Nasty Plot and Metal Sound to boost its attacking power. This is one of the few Pokemon that can easily solo 6-star raids. So we need to make use of moves like Taunt, Encore, or Put It to Sleep to prevent it from attacking or setting up. This Pokemon, on the other hand, has the ability Good as Gold, which allows it to be immune to all status moves. Not only do you have immunity to negative status effects, but you also have immunity to moves like Scary Face, Parting Shot, and so on. Of course, teammates' moves like Helping Hand have no effect with it, which is understandable given that no one could withstand one of its Make It Rain moves. Gholdengo is the only Pokemon that is immune to both Defog and Rapid Spin, making opponents' attempts to clear traps on their side of the field extremely impossible. Of course, this Pokemon edition introduced the new Maushold's Tidy Up move, which I described in the last video, but if the mouse dares to approach Gholdengo, there will be no turning back. Pokemon that were once thought to be among the weakest fighting-type Pokemon have greatly improved. Annihilape, a Pokemon with dual fighting and ghost types, is the latest evolutionary form of Primate. This is a particularly effective dual attack type when there are only 2 Pokemon that can resist both of them, Hisuian Zorua and Zoroark. However, these 2 Pokemon have yet to arrive in Generation 9, so we'll set them aside for the time being. Annihilape's punches are far more painful and have a much higher HP stat than Primate's. It is so powerful that it can effectively use Final Gambit. If you don't know how to handle it, it'll almost certainly be a 1-for-1 situation. This move is also unaffected by Fake Out, making it ideal as an opening for teams employing the Trick Room strategy. If people don't want to use Final Gambit, Annihilape can sustain damage with this much HP. Being able to resist multiple attacks boosts the attack power of the exclusive move Rage Fist. This is a Ghost-type move having a power of 50 at its beginning. This move's power will rise by 50 every time Annihilape is hit.
Come on, I want you to do it, I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Come on, hit me. Hit me!
Actually, this move is stronger than Shadow Ball with just 1 hit, but Rage Fist's potential can reach 350 after 6 hits. Furthermore, the power of this move is not reset after withdrawal. Inner Focus and Defiant are 2 abilities that enable Annihilape avoid being affected by the Intimidate effect. Defiant even increases its attacking power. Close Combat, Drain Punch, Break, and Bulk Up are some of its fighting-type moves, which are already highly powerful. Mach Punch's priority move may be not available, but it's understandable not to strengthen it any further.
It's over 9,000!
another old Pokemon that has evolved into a new form. However, unlike Primeape, Bisharp is already a good Pokemon, so the fact that it has new evolution is something I didn't expect to see so soon. But now there's Kingambit. Kingambit, like Annihilape, has higher attack and defensive stats after evolving, a little drop in speed stats, and the Defiant ability. Kingambit, on the other hand, can learn a priority move, Sucker Punch. Slow Pokemon, such as Kingambit, have the advantage of not having to spend IV in speed, allowing them to focus fully on attack potential. When Kingambit can Terastallize to the Dark type, it can easily one-hit even without doing any setup moves. If necessary, it can use Sword Dance to raise its attack stat even higher, as well as very powerful moves like Iron Head or the exclusive Kowtow Cleave, which never misses. If you don't want to utilize the Defiant ability because you don't want to rely on your opponent too much, Kingambit has another great ability called Supreme Overlord, which increases Kingambit's attack power in both fields by 10% for each teammate defeated. Under ideal conditions, Kingambit's attack power increases by up to 50% in a 6 vs 6 match, but only 30% in the VGC 4 vs 4 dual battle format. However, with Kingambit's already high attack power, that is more than enough for it to clear the rest. Balancing the game is inherently challenging, and for a game with over 1,000 Pokemon as of now, it is nearly impossible. We have Pokemon that can't be paralyzed, can't be burned, and can't be put to sleep. Then there's an ability that make the owner immune to all of the above, but this is a very weak Pokemon, so it doesn't do anything out of standard. Then there's Garganacl, who already has the shape of a solid tower. This Pokemon, particularly its ability, possesses all of the elements required to build an unbreakable defensive wall. Garganacl is a Rock-type Pokemon with the Purifying Salt ability, which makes it immune to all negative status effects as well as resisting Ghost-type, which every Pokemon appreciates, especially since the Ghost-type is currently in its golden era. Along with that feature is a set of stats that seem to be from a dream. Garganacl's total stats are only 500, but they are distributed very evenly. 100 HP points, 130 physical defense points, and 100 physical attack points. Actually, Garganacl doesn't need such a high attack stat, however it can still use Rock Slide or Stone Edge effectively. However, the primary sources of damage of tanky Pokemon like Garganacl are usually Stealth Rock or delivering damage over time due to the exclusive move Salt Cure. It also possesses a Body Press move that uses its defensive stat to inflict damage. Of course, moves like Iron Defense or Recover are essential for a defensive-minded Pokemon. That means Garganacl could stay there, boost his defense a bit, recover a bit, and watch his opponent wither from their thirst as a result of being salted. Salt Cure, like a poisoned state, deals damage in turns but gets removed if the opponent withdraws the Pokemon. So this move is primarily used to push the opponent to switch Pokemon, unless it is a Dondozo who is holding Tatsugiri in its mouth and is unable to retreat. In that case you should say farewell to the fat fish. Even the turn-based damage of this move is doubled if the opponent is of the water or steel types, so using these Pokemon to counter Garganacl is risky. Most people did not like this ostrich at first because her stats were not spectacular. Espathra, on the other hand, laughed in the face of its haters and ranked up extremely quickly, much like its speed boost ability.
In the world of Kung Fu, speed determines the winner.
Speed Boost is a terrifying ability that can transform the possessed Pokemon into a super-fast rocket capable of sweeping all opponents in just 1 or 2 turns. The most common example in the past was Blaziken, who could destroy practically everything in front of it with just 1 Sword Dance and 1 Protect. Espathra is not different, as it can boost its stats with Calm Mind. Although the single-type Psychic is not as effective as Blaziken's combined Fire and Fighting types, Espathra possesses a secret weapon in the form of the move Stored Power. This move has a base power of 20, but its power increases by 20 for each stage of improve in the owner Pokemon's stat. This move will have a power of 80 and will continue to develop stronger with just 1 Calm Mind and 1 Speed Boost turn, according to basic estimations. This Pokemon will then wipe out all non-Dark type Pokemon, and it still has the move Dazzling Gleam to deal with them. All of this comes at a cost of only 3 move slots. Everyone can freely choose time-buying methods such as Roost, Protect, or Substitute for the last move. This ostrich will develop quicker and stronger with each turn. Espathra has confidently occupied a spot on Pokémon Showdown's banned list since its introduction, thanks to her easy-to-play, easy-to-win playstyle. And of course, when mentioning Substitute, we cannot dismiss Cyclizar. A Pokémon cannot be played in competitive because of just one move, and for some reason, Pokémon Showdown voted to ban the whole Pokémon, not just that move. Cyclizar will lose his tail as a result of Shed Tail, losing 50% of his total HP to make a doll. It will then withdraw automatically, allowing the doll to protect its teammate. That teammate will be safe for at least one turn, allowing them to do whatever they prefer. The most evident is arguably the stat boost, as shown with Espathra above. Actually, there is another Pokémon that can use this move, Orthworm. This is also a good Pokémon, but in comparison, Cyclizar is significantly better. Cyclizar's quick speed allows him to employ Shed Tail successfully before being attacked by the opponent. Furthermore, because this move costs 50% of its own health, Orthworm can only use it once and must heal or use the berries for at least one round before using it again. Cyclizar doesn't need that because it has the Regenerator ability, which restores 30% of its total health when it is withdrawn. Cyclizar can use Shed Tail up to 3 times in a row without needing to heal thanks to this ability. Cyclizar's Shed Tail move makes it incredibly valuable, but it also possesses a number of other extremely useful moves, including as Rapid Spin to remove traps, Knock Off to eliminate enemy equipment, and Taunt to bother opponents. In this video, we discussed Gholdengo. This Pokémon's immunity to effect moves is one of its strengths, as it can prevent the opponent from using Defog or Rapid Spin. Great Tusk, however, is one of the Pokémon that uses Rapid Spin and frightens Gholdengo. This is a paradox Pokémon with dual ground and fighting types, incredibly high HP and physical attack stats, even higher than Garganacl, and the capacity to improve its stats even more with the Protosynthesis ability. If the possessed Pokémon stands in sunlight or uses booster energy equipment, their highest stat will be raised. Because Great Tusk has great physical attack and defense, we can create it in 2 ways: full attack or full defense. If you go the offensive route, Great Tusk has 2 attacks with a power of 120 that can raise all opponents, Close Combat and Headlong Rush. Not only that, but Great Tusk has Knock Off, which can cripple any Pokémon that dares to jump out to block the attack. Especially the balloon-wielding Gholdengo, if it thinks it can be safe from ground-type Pokémon. If Landorus dares to arrive in front of this elephant, the Ice Spinner move will sweep him away. If you select the defensive option, Great Tusk can deploy traps with Stealth Rock and remove them with Rapid Spin. Knockoff is still beneficial in many situations, and Body Press will ensure the amount of damage dealt by Great Tusk. Bulk Up is still necessary for both ways of using Great Tusk, whether it's to make it more durable or to hit harder. It also does not have to carry booster energy but can benefit from a sunny environment provided by a buddy Pokémon. At that point, the HP restored by Leftover, the improved defense power provided by Assault Vest, and the damage reflection provided by Rocky Helmet are all incredibly valuable. Roaring Moon is one of 2 Paradox Pokémon, with a total stat of 590, which is slightly higher than the rest. Many people consider the stat to be lesser than Salamence's total of 600. However, Roaring Moon's stat was designed to be far more effective. It has higher stats than Salamence in the most essential fields, like as HP, physical attack, and speed. Not to mention that it still has the Protosynthesis to boost its physical attack power even further or raise its speed to become exceedingly speedy. And then this prehistoric dragon will spread fear with Jaw Lock, Outrage, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Iron Head, and especially it can still use Dragon Dance. If you allow it to use Dragon Dance successfully just once, the match will be almost over. It has many of the same weaknesses as Hydreigon because it is a dual-type dragon and dark Pokémon. These are very popular attack types, such as Fighting, Ice, Dragon, and especially the deadly weakness coming from the Fairy type. This weakness has been substantially lessened, however, because it can tetrastallize into Steel type, for example. It may also transform into a Flying type, which would improve the power of acrobatics, especially after activating booster energy, making it its most powerful move. At a time when very strong Dark-type Pokémon appear in every match such as the 4 Disasters, Roaring Moon, Muscarada, and Kingambit, fighting-type Pokémon are also becoming more popular. And, with the growth of dark and fighting-type Pokémon, the fairy-type might benefit the most. In addition to Flutter Mane, we now have an appearance of Iron Valiant among the strongest fairy-type Pokémon. This is the only Pokémon that possesses both fighting and fairy types, making what it can deliver unique and unlike all other Pokémon. Fairy-type attacks are resisted by only 3 types, while fighting-type attacks can cause super effective damage to many types. When these 2 categories are combined, they form a destructive machine. Aside from having slightly slower speed than Roaring Moon, this Pokémon has high levels of special and physical attack numbers, as well as a very diverse selection of moves in both fields. This contains powerful moves, moves that boost stats, and even status moves like Taunt, Wide Guard, and Destiny Bond. As a result, Iron Valiant can be built using physical attack, special attack, or both. The ability to be immune to Dragon-type and resist Dark-type 4 times makes it simple to enter combat and force many Pokémon to retreat. It will become one of the quickest Pokémon at the moment if you use Booster Energy to activate the Quark Drive ability. This is simply a fast and painful Pokémon with a wide range of moves that can be easily mixed. Its only drawback is its fragile HP stat. Just a few more bright Pokémon of Generation 9, of course, there are many strong Pokémon of this generation waiting to be named. Thank you for taking the time to watch the entire video. Please like if you enjoyed this video, and remember to subscribe to receive notifications of new videos. Now goodbye everyone.